everybody. Today we have Mr. Nadeem Hussain. I honestly have been struggling to even put together the intro for this call because, sir, you've done so much, mashallah. But there's one title that I want to start off with. You say on your LinkedIn and also in your previous, talks, and your career, mashallah, has been amazing as an investor. Currently, you talk about yourself as a coach for Planet N Group, and I think that term itself is not enough to even suffice what you do, in your entire role and working with people and working with different startups. So I think I want to start off with that. Your experience starting Planet N, how did that come about?
A little bit of background will help as to how the Planet N journey evolved. I spent 27 years with Citigroup in about 7 different countries, working in investment banking, risk management, and corporate banking. So that was the basis of getting the discipline, the understanding, and the confidence. Within that 27 years, I also worked as country head Pakistan for consumer banking for Citibank. So that gave me, after 27 years, I only spent 5 years in Pakistan from a working perspective. I was born in Karachi, raised in Karachi, did my A-levels in Karachi Grammar School in Karachi, and then obviously went abroad for study. So after 27 years, I decided that I wanted to come back to Pakistan and do something in Pakistan. God had been kind to me in Citibank. I was one of the, I guess, top 10 Pakistanis in terms of seniority. But I wanted to do something in Pakistan. And after 27 years of working, I came back and I started Tamir Microfinance Bank. Tamir Microfinance Bank was owned by management, first private sector microfinance bank. And a year later, I did a joint venture with Telenor. They acquired 51%, and we launched EasyPaisa. EasyPaisa revolutionized domestic payments in Pakistan.
That's right.
It still remains the largest payment agency. So that was my first foray as an entrepreneur at the age of 48. Okay. So when we talk about entrepreneurship, there's no age limit.
Very true.
You can do this whenever you The ideal time to do it is when you're fresh out of college, because you haven't built your liabilities up. You don't have 1.5 children and 2.1 mortgage payments, and therefore you don't have the expenses that you're going to get 5 years into your job. So when you have expenses and when you go to a startup, you have to take a haircut because startups are looking to reward you with equity, not with salary. So it becomes difficult for people. And when you get to 48, few people take that plunge, and I'm one of those crazy ones.
I love
There's
that.
a verse by Paul that I quote. It says, "Bekhatar kood pada aatish namrood mein ishq, akal hai meve tamashaye labe baam abhi." Essentially, it means that some decisions are from the heart and faith and not of the mind. Bekhatar kood pada, without any hesitation. The person jumped in Atish-e-Namrud, the fire of Namrud. Brain is at the side of the door thinking this is 100 plus Celsius temperature, you're going to be fried. And the heart says, have faith. Okay. So when you do a startup, you've got to have faith, you've got to have passion, and you've got to have self-belief. And in more doses than the normal person. I'm not talking about arrogance, talking about self. So I then spent 11 years in Tamir Bank, and the initial investment for Telenor was at 51%. We were at 49 by investors and myself. And after 11 years, we sold the company 100% to Telenor. So a trade sale, and the company was valued at that time at $100 million. So a made in Pakistan company by Pakistanis from scratch on a piece of paper, from people who didn't have a clue about microfinance but had faith and passion. And at that time, unfortunately, more than a tinge of arrogance, which went away very quickly when you put your own money on the table. That same company a year later was valued at $410 million by Ant Financial Services, and they invested $140 million in it. One of the largest investments in Pakistan at the time. Still remains so. So once I sold my personal share in Tamir Bank, I had capital. So this was the third time I decided to reinvent myself. The first time I was a corporate banker in Citigroup, dealing with finance ministers, sovereign debt restructuring, everything else. Gave that up, started financing buffaloes, and became a microfinance individual at the grassroots level. Found out what Pakistan is actually about, because people who live in Karachi from my socioeconomic background believe Karachi is the airport, Sindh Club, KDA, and the Sakura. When you start doing microfinance, there's a whole town, for example, which is parts. If you leave a person like me before, in the daytime in these areas, I wouldn't know how to come back. I opened all the branches of Tamid Bank myself. So really discovered Pakistan at the grassroots level. And obviously had to change my lens from, from dealing with finance ministers to dealing with people who were, managing buffaloes or doing agriculture or doing beauty parlors. So once I did that, then I decided to reinvent myself again. And I decided that Tamil Bank was one startup. Pakistan is a country which has a very unique demographic. We have the largest youth cohort in absolute terms in the world. These people are entering the market. Our GDP growth does not allow the country to create enough jobs for the graduates who are coming out to be employed successfully. And we don't have vocational schools like guilds in other countries which provide, for example, there should be a school that does plumbing, a school that does mechanical stuff, school that does car, people. We don't do that. We're all looking for a degree and trying to find a job in a multinational.
Exactly.
So that's the time I decided that I would use these funds to actually do tech disruption. Tech disruption is very simple. One criteria, and when I talk about people, when they start talking about an idea, my first question is just simple question. If you can't tick that, then you're off, conversation is short. Are you changing the customer journey? Simple.
Right.
Are you changing the customer journey? If you're not changing the customer journey, don't buy time. Let's say you are changing it. So EasyPaisa changed the customer journey, for example. People used to remit fund domestically by when they were going to their village, physically carry it or go to the post office. Paisa made transfer within Pakistan within 1 minute, 60,000 locations available just by asking for 3 data. That's the change in customer journey. And that's why it was so successful.
So I have one question on that. When you talk about, again, changing the customer journey, right? It also comes with building the trust of the customer. And considering we're talking about grassroots levels of changing the way people perceive the finances in Pakistan, right? In areas where they don't know that something like EasyPaisa could work. So how did you come about the customer journey for EasyPaisa at that time?
So you're absolutely right. But what you have to do is you've got to get the trust of the people. So if I was to go to them and say the average remittance is about, I would say 2, 3, 4, 5,000 rupees. The people average remittance, or let's say under 10,000. Okay? If I was going to tell them go and make this transfer at the same place you buy your bread and butter and your pan and cigarettes from, they look at me and say, okay, but why doesn't he share with us what he's smoking? Okay. So we had to create trust, and now. The second thing we could do, the team did it, so I'm going to use plural rather than I, is that we started off with utility bill payments, power, electricity, gas, water. The average utility bill at that time was under 1,200 rupees, okay? So we said, go and pay your utility bill at your local pawn shop, which is a branchless banking agent. Don't go and stand in line at the bank because the banks don't want you. They're going to make it as difficult for you as possible to pay at the bank. The local pawn guy doesn't play golf on Saturdays and Sundays. Okay, his shop is open close to 7 by 18. The second, then, so we made it first convenience, that you don't have to go anywhere. This is like still physical, not online. Though. Obviously, the end state is online. You can sit in your lounge and make a transfer. But let's say most guys at this stage didn't have wallets, so they had to physically go to a local Kiryana store, mom and pop store. The second thing was provide the confidence that, hey, I'm paying, 1,000 rupees here. Kal ko meri bijli cut jayegi, my power gets cut. In the bank, what do I have over here? So we started providing Tamil Bank receipts. So there would be a Tamil Bank stamp. So the person said, okay, it's a bank. I can go to the State Bank of Pakistan. The third thing we said, no dispute policy for the first 2 years. Average bill is 1,000 rupees. We can do 3 million bills. There are 30 million bills generated a month in Pakistan. If you're going to do 1 million bills, okay, we're going to get 0.1% fraud. Let's do that. Just focus on saying, no dispute. You paid the bill, tell the retailer, even if it's in the money, we will pay that money. So the confidence level developed. And then the fourth thing we did was, through the markets, through the line, below the line, through the line activities, so people got more comfortable with going to the local panwala and local branchless banking agent who could be a panwala and paying their bill. So that's how you create. In order to create change, you need to have trust. And as you go down the bottom of the pyramid, Sanya, you'll find that people have a lot more appreciation for value of money.
Very true.
You and I'll go to a large store, see a sale, 50% off. We'll spend more money than we originally thought because we're buying sale. But the bottom of the pyramid doesn't think that way. They have finite amount of resources. If you provide value, EasyPaisa was priced 3 times what the post office did. But it was secure, it was instant, it was convenient, and they were willing to pay for that. So that's the customer journey question. Long way around of this. So you understood, how you change. Second thing is changing the customer journey, great. But can you scale it? If I'm going to change the customer journey in all of, the elite of 10,000, 15,000, unless I put a niche structure where I'm charging something else, I get 150,000 following that customer. No good for me. In a country of 220 million people, I need 1 million people plus, where I think I can scale it to a minimum, 1 million. So all as a Planet and group companies have a target of at least having 1 million customers.
Wow. Okay.
The third thing is, can you price it? Is the customer willing to pay for it? So you have these big campaigns where you can go and get a Coke and a patty for a QR code for 50 rupees. There's a whole queue of people. When that campaign goes away, everybody goes back because it's too much of a hassle. Okay. So you need to be creating something that the customer is willing to pay for. So are you changing the customer journey? Can you monetize it? Can you scale it? Then we would be interested regardless of the industry. So that's how we think.
And sir, I would really want to know, you talked about self-belief before, and you talked about how that's very important in this journey, having self-belief. Right. So I just want to understand, like, in your journey, I understand that there's many points, that build up that self-confidence and that esteem.
So the moment I quit Citigroup and I started Tamil Bank, we were looking for premises. So I was looking for premises. We found a house. I went and called on the landlord. Normally, I would never have to call on the landlord. Landlord would come. I said, "This is Tamil Bank. Citibank is a different world." He said, "Aap kya karte hain?" I said, "We're doing a bank." He said, "What bank is this?" I said, "Tamil Bank." Never heard of that. We can't give you an answer. So that was the first realization. You don't have the corporate umbrella with you anymore. You've got to create your own brand, and which Tamil Bank managed to do. But so challenges came in Tamil Bank. This issue of self-belief, because I'd invested all my money in Tamil Bank. It was like a all-in, Texas Hold'em poker play, all in. Not a smart move for everybody, but turned out it could have been a bad move for me. But turned out to be a great move. Okay, the self-belief is required because 90% of startups fail. 90% of startups fail, and they don't necessarily fail because of lack of cash. They fail because lack of understanding of how to run a startup, how to access the market, and how misjudging, what your cash requirement is. So it doesn't mean that the individual has failed. It just means his first idea has failed. So pivot and do something else. But then you start getting resilient. So Jack Ma said this in startups. Imagine you're in a dark, stormy night. People who are remain standing in the morning are going to be far and few between. But those people who remain standing are the people who have self-belief and are going to succeed. So, Sani, a thin line between self-belief and arrogance. Okay. So you have to manage that, because you can't be arrogant that I can't do any wrong. I'm the champion, I'm the fountain of all knowledge. But you have self-belief that I'm going to succeed. I'm going to do what it takes and I'm going to succeed. I'm going to get beaten up, I'm going to fall down, but I'm going to be getting up and I will carry on. So we had many inflection points in Tamil where this lesson was learned, which was needed to be learned in Citigroup, because in Tamil Bank, our own money was on the line. Not, it wasn't the case of getting a loan bonus, it was a case of not having a bank anymore.
Yep. And so I really want to talk about, because I have had a chance to talk to Saif Akhtar as well as Noreen, getting different perspectives about how their journey started. And it's amazing how both of them had such beautiful things to say about you, right? Whether working with you as a mentor or as a partner or as, an investor. I really want to know more about how you maintain your connections and your network, and in terms of building it as well, because I do understand that in this industry that you're in right now, it's very different. Right, whether you're in the corporate world with Citibank, and then when you're starting something of your own, building that self-belief and then building that network from scratch. So how was it for you?
Network comes, this is all on motherhood and apple pie statement, but people don't execute against that. I can still call people who worked with me at Citibank from 1990s to 2001. They're all CEOs of different banks now, and they'll take my call because I respected them You know, as when they were assistant managers, they were trainees. My trainees who were with me are now CEOs. I'm 66, okay? My working life is 42 years, more than number of years by far how you've been alive.
Yep.
And over this time, my biggest asset is creating a network by respecting people. Okay, when you respect people, but respect doesn't mean that you don't tell them off when they're not doing right. It's a question of how you deal with them, having the ability to relate to them. And much as they've learned from me, I've learned from them. And that's the respect people appreciate. That, you know, you have the ability to listen to them and accept their arguments when you're wrong, rather than saying I'm pulling rank, I know what's right. Okay, now that's not easy, and I know everybody says that. Very few people practice it. So my philosophy has always been is respect the people you work with, they'll respect you back. And when you no longer have that seat, when you know from the organization structure, they'll still respect you because they're respecting you, not that seat.
Very true. Very, very true, sir. Thank you so much for sharing that. I have one more question as well about your Planet N journey. So you, mashallah, invested in so many startups ranging from ad tech to educational technology to medicine as well to financial inclusion, which you, mashallah, pioneered and started, you know, your own Tamir Bank as well. And now you have, you know, that whole journey with other fintech startups as well in Pakistan. I just want to understand, like, how do you keep up with all the trends in different industries as an investor, as a mentor, and what advice do you have for people who are starting off in, you know, whether it's in Pakistan, Middle East, or outside as well?
So my personal philosophy, you know, people may have different philosophies. I'm very productive with my time. You have 30 minutes today, you won't go beyond that.
Yep.
My average meeting is 20 minutes. I start my day at 4 a.m., but by finish, because I cook every day as well, I'm in my mind a chef. These things, I also have a Mandarin class, I also have yoga class. But my point is that I have 6 to 8 meetings a day, they're 20 minutes. The agenda is predetermined, and after each minute, there's an action step. So productive use of time is very important. You know, we don't, it's only commodity which is a diminishing commodity. Okay, nothing else. You won't put your hand in your purse and find 10 minutes or go down the road and see fallen 5 minutes on the bike. It's gone. Second thing is, as I said, I use my time in slots. We have 36 companies now. There'll probably be 50 companies. So it's the ability of my own management system of keeping things in track. I have one guy who works with me, okay, who, you know, every day we have an action item list, figuring out what's priority, what's non-priority. Every meeting I have, if I finish with you, the action item, I would have noted it. And second thing, I surround myself, I claim, people dispute, with people smarter than me, but not wiser than me. This comes from age. Smartness comes from inherent smartness, and you can develop that further. When you work with smart people, you get energy from them, you get ideas from them, but you help them keep their feet on the ground. Okay, so I get a lot of energy from working on new ideas with young people. That's why you got your time.
Thank you so much.
You're a young person. I wanted to, you know, do that. Sorry it took so long.
No, it's
but
okay.
That's what the philosophy is. Okay.
Amazing. Sir, I really want to go back and maybe talk about the very first investment that you've made in your life, if we can go through that as well.
Obviously, it was Tamir Bank.
Okay.
Pre-Planet 10, it was Tamir Bank. I put all my savings in Tamir Bank. That came out really well. The second investment in Planet 10, I did the first investment was TapMad. TapMad is an OTT platform.
Okay.
The guy who was running TapMad, you should interview. His name is Yashir Pasha. I'll send you his number as part of your, you know. So Yashir was a quant working in the UK. And decided to come back because of his parents, probably pulling in £1 million a year. Came and started this OTT platform, which is television based on smartphone.
Wow.
Came to me and that time was ready to leave, quit. Was having a difficult time butting his head, trying to get what he had to do. Brought all these files of what had been done. He'll tell you the story of his perspective.
Yeah.
I decide typically in the first 5 minutes if I'm going to bet on it. So my investment thesis is 70% on the jockey, 20% on the horse, 10% on the turf. 70% are the founders, male, female, doesn't matter, founders. 20% is the idea, because a good founder can come up with multiple ideas.
Very true.
10% of the turf is that idea relevant for Pakistan. TapMad was the first company we invested. It's done very well right now. Very well. It's got 10 million viewers and 1.5 million paid customers.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Awesome.
Okay, your time is up. Good talking to you. Look me up when you come to Karachi.
Sure. Thank you.
All right.
Hafiz, sir.
Bye.
Bye.